Good evening. Thank you for today and opportunity for us to discuss yet the trending market and what has been happening in the global economy. Today we'll be looking at the topic economic sanction on Russia and how it affects you, the economic sanctions on Russia and how it's affecting you and how it's going to affect you as a person. Uh, Many of us are yet to be abreast with what is happening or what is going on in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Many of us are yet to come to terms with the ongoing event that is going or happening in that axis right now. The West are threatening to send the Russia economy into a stale pin through the trauma we've felt across the world, from Africa to Europe, in the high inflation and food shortage in all spheres. So if you look at what we are looking at currently now, how these sanctions will cause a gradual spin of the economy, the global economy, and how it's going to truncate on your buying power. So you begin to come to reality that this sanctions that the world power, the West, is imposing on Russia is not just going to suffer by Russians alone, but it's going to cut across everyone globally. So that is where we will be looking at how will you as a person come to terms with that and begin to work your way out from this tension, from this emanating disaster that this war might end up putting us through. All right. Russians supplied Europe and America with over 1 billion metric tons of gas. Yes, every year it's a huge supply, and the whole of Europe virtually depends on Russia for its gas supply, and that tells us that the dependence on Russia for its energy is a major yardstick for productivity from that axis. And it tells me that if you are depending or you're an importer that is shipping any consignment from Europe, it's going to affect the price of what you buy, the goods and services, what you ship in from Europe into Africa. So it tells us the same that, okay, if for instance Russia is bringing in gas to Europe and the gasoline that is used to run the vehicles or operate their factories are now have of high demand, of shortage in supply, it tells us that definitely we might not be having supplies very soon in terms of productions from those locations. And again, if you look at the production of exports of agricultural produce from that axis too, we come to understand that Russia produces over 30% of Russia and Ukraine together produces over 30% of the global wheat supply. Global wheat supply, 30%, what the whole world is consuming in terms of food. And sunflower, which is one of their major produce, agricultural produce, they provide the world with over 80% of what the world is producing or consuming in terms of that produce. So that significantly tells us something. Nigeria, what happens to Nigeria in this case? Nigeria spends over $394 million importing wheat to the country every year from Russia and Ukraine. So that tells me and I that it's going to affect the price of confectionaries. It's going to affect the price of importation of wheat and other related items. So this is a very critical issue that has to do with agricultural businesses and how it's going to cause the price of these items to actually increase geometrically. So escalating energy prices are mounting to importation and subsidy bills in the country is going to cause another panic. those importers that are importing white products into the country, you quite understand that we have been stressing, the country has been going through a lot when it comes to subsidy. So when you have cost of importing white products into the country increasing by some percentage, let's say like 10% or 20% because of cost of energy in Europe and America, it tells us something that definitely we're going to have, the government is going to do more in terms of subsidizing the cost of white products in the country. Petrol, diesel, kerosene, these are white products. So that is going to trigger down to the cost of transportation, the cost of powering our local factories, the cost of even day-to-day activity, running industries, generators, because currently we have poor power supply in the countries. So definitely we have local companies going to run on solar power generation, like running generation plants locally. So that is going to demand for them to spend more on of petrol and diesel in their cost of their production. So all this is going to affect the day-to-day running of the country and your own your own buying power. So this is a very, very significant factor that as a country we begin to look how this war, these conditions, these economic sanctions that Russia has beginning to struggle with and come to terms that they are already aligning with countries like China to see that they come out from it. How are they going to find a way out of this? Many nations in Africa are yet to do anything around us. The deregulation component of products while witnessing a sharp increase is a very major concern. Deregulation component of the petroleum products is a major concern. Another thing again we'll look at again is the disruption of the Ajakuta steel. The business, the common tie the Russian government had with the Buhari administration on how to resuscitate the Ajakuta steel is going to have a major setback. So that alone, that's supposed to add employment opportunities to the country, is going to have a major setback. So friend, you're going to understand that these are major deterrents that affect the business of the nation. When we look at the country very well, we look at what are those things, what are those factors, what are those things that affect this sanction, that limits us as a country. When we look at these sanctions, so many persons are still rejoicing, they are sanctioning Russia because they are bombing Ukraine, they are doing all that. Sanction is not the best alternative. Yes, some persons will say, what's the best alternative then? Dialogue, if I may say, is the best way out of this kind of situation. Because when you hold Russia, when you stop Russia from not doing this, from not participating in the world, you're isolating them from the rest part of the world. So you are making them more tougher. You're toughening them how to act independently, how to become more proactive in their thinking. So if you may ask, if we may look at other ways, we begin to see that these sanctions is going to last longer than expected. So this discussion is coming again as a result of the need for us to look into avenues on how to develop other substantive means of livelihood, to look at other measures as a nation, as a person, to diversify into, so that these sanctions, this global turnaround, this tsunami, this shift, this paradigm shift, that's why I call it a paradigm shift, does not take on you unaware. So friend, why this video is coming to us is because there is need for us to do our work. There is need for us to change the course of our thinking. So begin to look at other ways on how to generate income, how to care for yourself, how to live without depending on imported goods. If not, if our livelihood is solely dependent on imported goods, trust, we're going to run into greater crisis than ever. Thank you for spending time to watch this video. If you still have some you need for clarity, you can do well, drop a message on the comment section while we attend to such. Thank you very much for your time. God bless you.